Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachate Shatarne Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In a situation like this, I am reminded of His Holiness Parthasarathi Maharaj and the tent campaign. And I think just to warm ourselves up a bit and perhaps wake ourselves up a bit, let's everyone put our hands in the air. Everyone take a deep breath. And everyone say after me, very loud, after me, Hare Krishna! Hare Krishna! Louder. Hare Krishna! Hare Krishna! Thank you. Just to warm up and wake up a bit. Vanchkalpatrubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I'm very happy to be here, of course, with all of you. Nice devotees and friends focusing on this extremely most important activity of distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. Earlier, Mr. Buthelezi actually quoted Mr. Mandela, Nelson Mandela, who said, if you speak to someone in a language they understand, you reach their heads or their minds. But if you speak to them in their language, you reach to their hearts. And I travel a lot. And I visit different places where there are different languages. And in some cases I can speak a little. Particularly I can speak some Russian. And Russian devotees, increasingly they're speaking English or some English, and they can understand and you can speak to them, and in at least some percentage of cases they'll understand and get the message. But when I actually speak to them in Russian, it's sort of like someone just turned the lights on. Really, it's amazing. If you actually just dive into a conversation with them, albeit simple, but it really reaches their hearts and reaches their whole being. So this project, the BBT project in Africa, which is the last continent left on this planet where Krishna consciousness is not present and like strongly present in every country. This Krishna consciousness movement and this, it's sort of like the last frontier in that sense. So the publishing and distribution of Srila Prabhupada's books is such an extremely important, important is not the right word, but it's just so vital, so uniquely essential for offering something which will actually help. We know, and we saw the video, very short clip of Srila Prabhupada saying that we should print books and distribute them in every language of the whole world. Krishna consciousness is such a thing that we see we have so much experience now that people from every type of background in terms of culture, nationality, race, all these different considerations, our experience, it's just abundantly clear that any person, any human being, when they're presented with this spiritual transcendental message of Krishna consciousness nicely, then any reasonable person, practically without exception, it really touches their hearts and transforms them and encourages them and makes their lives, makes them very, very happy. And it really, Krishna consciousness, it's such an amazing thing. It adds a spiritual dimension to the lives of whoever comes in contact with it and who's a little open-minded or a little inquisitive. The experience I've had is it's just overwhelming. It's on such a massive scale, actually. So this was Srila Prabhupada's sacred order to print books in as many languages as there are, and then distribute them, not just print them, but distribute them. In my early days in this Hare Krishna movement, means the early to mid 1970s, I was based in London, and I travelled all over the UK and Ireland, just practically everywhere. Our mission was to distribute the books. And of course, at least all of you who are actively involved in Krishna consciousness, you would be familiar with this term, Maya. M-A-Y-A, Maya. Maya is a Sanskrit word meaning illusion. Typical illusions, the main illusion is, I think I am this body. I am a white man. And someone else is an Indian woman. Someone else is an African of some sort, a Zulu or Sutu, Pedi, or Nigerian, Kenyan, etc., etc., etc. So this is one of the cornerstones, most foundational points in Krishna consciousness, is that we are not really those types of designations, but we're all together. This is oneness in the Krishna conscious sense, that we're all together, and these superficial distinctions, not only are they diversions, distractions from the real essence, but they are just, they're completely illusory. They have no real standing on the platform of spiritual reality. So that is Maya. That's a very important part of Maya, but there are other parts also. Thank you. And so Maya, there we were distributing books all around the UK and Ireland, and we had a slogan, a little motto type of thing amongst the distributors. 100 a day keeps Maya away. That was our slogan. And we would just go out on the streets of London, Birmingham, Manchester, Glasgow, Edinburgh, Scunthorpe. You've never heard of Scunthorpe, have you? and all over the UK and Ireland, distributing books. And seeing the impact that those books had on the people, and all different types of people. So Krishna consciousness, of course, there are many spiritual, religious processes. We're all very well aware, at least, of a number of them. and I was brought up as an Anglican and was educated completely from beginning to end in an Anglican school. Went to chapel every day, 5 days of the week for 12 years. So we know about these things. But my experience has been that Krishna consciousness offers something special, and something very sort of impactful, which can very easily and does very easily influence anyone, practically anyone. And let's face it, even through prasadam distribution and kirtan, sometimes even animals become influenced. I've seen many dogs dancing in Hare Krishna kirtan, and I like to think singing Hare Krishna in dog language. But mainly, of course, we're aiming at human beings. So it was Srila Prabhupada's order to do like this. And the order, the instruction of a very advanced spiritual person who's very close to God, be they of whatever tradition, whatever the background is religiously, spiritually, but the instruction of a very advanced and spiritually potent great devotee of the Lord, well, it has great power. And I would like to give you one little example. It's slightly esoteric, don't mind, but my own experience, vivid experience. I think it was 1973, middle of 73. I was in Birmingham in England. So it's a big industrial city. And there we were distributing books right in the center of Birmingham. And we were distributing Srimad Bhagavatams, as I think many of you are familiar, but they're on the altar next to Srila Prabhupada on the second level up. That's Srimad Bhagavatam, big hardbound books. We were distributing them to people on the street. Just walk up to someone, here, take a book. But not just take a book and pay for it. So it was a bit of a challenge in, industrial and not very affluent Birmingham. But we were doing that. And I was trying to do that, but to be frank, it was not a hundred book a day for me that day. In fact, by the time it came to 4 p.m, I think I had perhaps distributed one book. And I was feeling disappointed, naturally. Although I was persevering, but disappointed. So then I thought of something. I thought, this is the order of Srila Prabhupada, this great spiritual personality, that order, and he himself, and his order coming from himself as a very powerful spiritual person, his instruction has spiritual potency. So why don't I just try to meditate on that, remember that, what am I doing here on the main street of Birmingham today? I am on the order of Srila Prabhupada, his express instruction and insistence even. I am trying to distribute these books on his behalf, not on my own behalf so I can become famous for distributing lots of books. So I started meditating on that, just considering that really quite deeply as I was approaching the people. And you know what happened? A very interesting and I think important thing happened. That I gave someone a book, and I'm thinking deeply like this, how I'm doing this as a service to Srila Prabhupada, not for myself, but to please him and to help the people spiritually. And you know what happened? The person took the book. And I thought, well, that's interesting. No one was taking a book. Now I'm meditating and praying in this way. Someone took a book. So I approached the next person. And you know what happened? They took a book also. And then the next person. And seriously, in the space of like an hour, I distributed 12, 15 of these books. And it was very convincing that Krishna consciousness being a transcendental spiritual process, not just a process of material intellect or clever speaking or something of that sort, or just hyping people, getting people excited about things, but as a real spiritual process, and we're receiving it from Srila Prabhupada, who's such a wonderful and empowered spiritual person. If we remember that and meditate on that and try and dedicate ourselves to that heart and soul, we will actually become spiritually empowered and become able to do things like publish and distribute these books on an amazing scale. So that's my message to you all for today, that this is the sacred order of Srila Prabhupada, publish and distribute his books in all languages to everyone on the planet. Let us meditate on that order. Take the order into our hearts. In this way, take Prabhupada into our hearts, and then become empowered, and Krishna consciousness will boom all over Africa, and so many people who are struggling in different ways will become very happy through Krishna consciousness. Thank you.